to make a few points on each one. We've got several points to get through. We've only got half an hour. And I know the cold beers are getting colder, so we're not going to go on for too long. But we're going to try and touch on each point and hopefully get some good feedback from the panel and incite some questions and discussion afterwards. One of my bigger challenges when we're talking about any sized yacht, frankly, but particularly larger yachts, are crew. In Asia, many people start, well, most people around the world start with a smaller yacht and grow up. But in Asia, an owner will have a captain on his first boat, maybe a 40, 45-foot boat, but he'll want to keep that captain through, and he gets his 140-foot boat, and he wants the same guy by his side, which is all very admirable, but that guy's got to do training and certificates, etc. And rarely we see that happening in Asia. We don't see many qualified crew. We don't see many crew who've got experience on larger yachts. And it's a very, very big problem. As the insurance industry tightens up, it's a bigger issue facing owners, it's a bigger issue facing the industry. So I'd just like to put to each one of the people here there, ask for their quick views on the issues of crewing in the region, and what they think needs to be done to try and reverse this problem.
Hello everyone, I'm Hilda. I'm the Deputy Registrar for Maritime Cook Island Singapore office. I will speak on behalf of the flag. We all know that private and commercial operations are different, and therefore their crew requirements will also be different in accordance to the international recognized standards. Okay? In our small and large yacht code, we are very, very attentive to ensuring that our owners and the managers follow our manning requirements, and they should follow accordingly. And when they apply for any safe manning application through us, we do vet their crew qualification to ensure that they qualify. Okay, we understand that there will be issues in getting appropriate crew for a particular area of navigation, as well as size of boat, but they are always welcome to send those qualifications to us for our review before we approve them or even issue any certificates to these people. So training is a definite must for us.
So training, big key.
Yes, indeed. Training within the region. By the way, I'm representing Galileo Maritime Academy in Phuket, Thailand. Training within the region for super yachts specifically has fallen behind the established centres in Europe and America. As the super yacht industry has developed in those centres, alongside there's been academies established principally in Antibes and in Florida Okay. I'm not sure how many of you heard all that.
I heard it.
Okay. But just to recap, the training industry within Asia for super yachts specifically has fallen behind somewhat the training industry that's developed alongside the exponential growth of super yachts in Europe and the Caribbean. The main training centres for super yacht crews now are established in Antibes and in Florida. And at Galileo in Phuket, we wanted to bring a quality maritime training institute specifically aimed at super yacht crews to this region. We are MCA accredited, and everybody in the super yacht world knows that the MCA has taken a lead on classification and regulation of the super yacht worlds. But we have a difficulty in attracting students from the region. This year alone, we've trained students from 6 continents, 26 countries. Less than a third of those have come from the Asian region. Okay. And as a former super yacht captain and cruise ship captain myself, I can attest certainly to the qualities of crews that are available in this region. However, in the super yacht world, they tend to come either from the commercial sector or the recreational sector. And I'm sure my colleagues on the table over there will agree that when you get crews from either of those sectors onto a super yacht, then there's a certain amount of retraining that's necessary to assimilate them into our world. So I think it's a matter of getting the message out to owners and management companies of the need for training for their crews in the region.
Yeah, again, training's getting the vote so far. Please.
Nazmi, and from Fema International Swiss. We have, and our biggest problem is, again, in training, and especially in Asia. And since I come to the Singapore, I find out so many crew working around here without STCW. Just small example. And you can go to this marina now, you can check, and all the boats, you can find out minimum 20 crew, even they don't have the STCW. Training is very important, but right now, biggest problem super yacht industry having, qualified crew. We are having serious problem right now finding qualified, good crew. We don't have it. And this is the problem for not only Asia, this is the problem also Western world too. We are not able to get qualified engineers, especially engineers, and the captains, and but again, getting more yachts coming in the market, and we are getting less crew.
Well, I think that training. I mean, there's several things that this has brought out, and the importance of good quality crew not only allows the boat to have less risk of downtime, which will give the owner more enjoyment. I mean, I think most people who are involved with boats here knows that a boat never breaks down the day after the owner's got off. It always breaks down the day before he gets on. But the chances of it having downtime if you've got preventative maintenance and a proper trained crew are less. The enjoyment factor of the guests on board increases massively if you've got a highly professional crew on board. I think another important issue is, I'm just going to hit on the insurance side of this. Again, everyone here will know that a vessel must be seaworthy at all times. But what many people don't seem to see or realize is that seaworthiness includes competency of crew. It's not just whether the boat, sorry, I was sitting my back to this side of the room. It's not just whether the boat's got a hole in the side of it or the engine's not running properly. If your crew is not suitably experienced and qualified, your boat is unseaworthy. And any insurer will reserve the right to decline a claim if a boat is unseaworthy. So it can, at the end of the day, what might seem as a cost saving for an owner by having cheaper crew can actually, at the end of the day, be costing a huge amount more. So I mean, I did have a client with a 50-meter yacht a number of years ago whose captain fired his qualified engineer, and because he cost too much money, and he hired an unqualified engineer. Not only unqualified, but he'd failed his exams 3 times, and he expected insurers just to accept this. So training, and good quality crew at the end of the day is going to help an owner have a better experience. Another bane of people's lives, and a lot of all this is, it all comes down to spending the right amount of money on running a yacht to get the most out of your yacht, to get the most enjoyment out of your yacht, and to get the best resale value for your yacht when you come to sell it. And the issue here I'm going to talk about is keeping your boat in class. So many owners of super yachts I know in this region, they bring a super yacht to Asia, they buy it, and the first thing they do is take it out of class because it costs money to keep a boat in class. It seems that it's not been discussed with them before they buy the boat, that taking out of class in the long run is going to be a huge headache. Nowadays, the insurance market is requiring yachts to be classed, whether they're private or commercial. And we're hearing underwriters used to be kind of over 30 meters, and now we're hearing underwriters saying even we want 80-foot boats classed, which is a bit of a challenge. But I'm just going to ask the panel again their thoughts about keeping a boat in class or taking it out of class.
On the flag perspective, we definitely prefer to have the boats stay in class. Okay, especially those above 24 meters. We always encourage and recommend the owner to keep it in class. We understand owners' concern about it being very expensive to maintain it, but in the long run, by keeping it in class, it maintains the value of the boat. And when he sells it, he will be able to get a good price versus a boat that's out of class for the same model, same year, same build.
So long-term thinking on value.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Hilda's hit it right on the head there. The short-term gains of taking a vessel out of class are definitely overturned by the long-term loss if you have to get that vessel back into class prior to selling it. And if you try to sell it without it being in class, well, you're onto a loser.
For management eyes, and it's good for us because we have a third eye looking for the boat, another third eye inspecting the boat, checking the boat. If we have any mistakes, any problems, they can tell us, we can straighten. And then also, again, it's good for the value of the vessel.
Yeah, and that third eye is an important point in that from an insurer's point of view, if your boat's in class, they don't need to worry about so much. You know, as you say, it's a standard, it's a level. They don't need to be so concerned. And if a boat's taken out of class, the question always comes back to me, well, what else are they doing to cut corners? You know, what else is happening on the boat to save money that's going to cause safety issues or potential issues going down the line? Probably one of the biggest issues that an owner needs to face every day is the maintenance of a boat. I don't think many yacht dealers and yacht agents and yacht people who sell yachts to people sit down with an owner at the time of buying a boat and tells him approximately what it's actually going to cost him to run the boat. Because I think most businessmen would look at it and they'd say, well, we're just going to rent this. Why would I pay that much money to maintain a toy when I can rent it? And the difficulty with that is you don't get too many people buying second, third, fourth yachts out of the whole market. And I think the important thing is owners need to understand costs of running a yacht and be happy with running those costs. And maintenance is a big issue. Preventative maintenance, we all know prevention is better than cure. But unfortunately in this region it doesn't seem to be getting through. And most people tend to go on the cure basis rather than trying to prevent a problem in the first place. So please, panel, can you talk a little bit about that?
Good maintenance is important because we conduct annual surveys. The flag requires that to conduct annual surveys. So if they do not maintain their boat properly, there's going to be difficulty in passing the surveyors, checked and inspection, and we will start having a lot of issues, and then we won't be able to issue any stats certs because of that. So we will not issue any stats certs if the boat cannot pass the survey. And in order to pass the survey, they need to maintain the boats properly, right?
Indeed, and there's a synergy there with keeping the boat in class, because part of the process of keeping a boat in class is to have the preventative maintenance program in place and adhered to. And any professional seafarer, certainly Nazmi, the engineer on my left here, will agree that there has to be a preventative maintenance system in place on any vessel just to maintain its value and maintain its operational readiness.
And most of owners, they are complaining about, as you mentioned, cost of the running boat, maintenance. But, and again, if you have a proper crew, you can lower your maintenance cost. Because if you have a good engineer on board, if you have a good first mate on board, they do most of maintenance by themselves because they have already programmed how they can run the boat. And that way, you can lower the cost, and you don't call all the time services and maintain the boat, and then you don't call contractor all the time and service the boat. And that way, you can lower your cost, and you make your owners happy. He can make a more investment for his investment. Like he can spend more money, different things. And that way, your boat values goes up, and then your crew, and then maintain your boat proper way. And when you sell the boat, and you will be happy.
So happy owner, happy crew equals a happy owner. Certainly from a maintenance point of view, If you have an accident on your boat and it's caused by a lack of maintenance, no insurer is going to pay your claim. You may get insurance people telling you, no, 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 it's all fine. But I promise you, in a hardening insurance market, the first thing the surveyor is going to look at is the quality of the crew and the maintenance schedule on the boat. And if it's not up to scratch, there's going to be problems coming forwards. And with that, we know in Asia the staffing of people's offices is very hierarchical. And with the onset of the more professional management companies who tend to deal with insurance, this is beginning to change a bit. But still we see an awful lot of people delegating insurance, decisions on insurance to clerical staff in the office. Could be their PA, could be an accounts person, could be in the admin department. And we get things like insurance decisions being made where these guys have got no idea about the difficulties of a 40-page complex legal document on a multi-million-dollar asset. And they shouldn't need to understand that, frankly. That's for professional people to deal with, or people with more knowledge. And it's very difficult for them to explain to their boss why they should spend more money on this rather than that if they don't understand what it is. In terms of maintenance, that comes into play. I think certainly in terms of arranging insurance, I know it comes into play. But in terms of who is actually advising the owner on what to do with his boat in terms of running it, if we take out the professional management companies, because we know how they're all set up, but the more privately run yachts, what are your opinions on that?
It will be the captain. The captain should be competent enough to advise the owner on that, because he operates the boat. He knows the boat's inside out, what is required, crew, as well as, where the owner wants to go and all. So he should be in a good position to vet which insurance company is suitable and where it should probably covered, and not to some clerical staff, but because I think it's a bit tough for the clerical staff to understand the magnitude of how a boat operates and runs, all the technicalities and all. It's not simple.
Yeah, well, I think this is an instance where the larger yacht management companies, the provision there is that under the ISM rules, that there is a designated person ashore, that the crew on board the yacht, the captain, the chief engineer, etc., can talk with. That designated person must be a professionally qualified, experienced person and have instant access to the owner of the vessel. And I think this is something that really needs to trickle down to the smaller operations.
Some owners, they use their secretary, and some owners, they use the captain. But qualified captains, it's no problem. They are running the boat very good. If it's some boats, I know, like a 50, 60 meters, they don't use the management company. They just use the ISM management company. They are running a DOP on the shore, but they are running very good. But if sometimes very difficult for the captains or home office running the boat, they have lots of difficulty getting proper quotations for the maintenance of the boat. Sometimes they don't understand what's that, especially family offices, they don't understand in the rules of the vessels at the sea, because they're thinking like a car. They think about, especially in Asia, we are getting very often this, they thinking same as car. But it's not like that. They have lots of rules and regulation. But if they have a qualified captain, they are so easy run the boat. But depends how you're going to find that qualified captain sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the growth of the family office business in Asia, and certainly countries, Singapore, Hong Kong particularly, are pushing for family office business. And I think a lot of these guys just don't know, as you quite rightly said, the magnitude of running a yacht. The guy who knows what the yacht is the yacht's captain. And he knows what he's got to put the boat through. And he should have the full confidence of his boss to be able to talk to him, quite frankly, about what the boat needs to run smoothly. And that brings us on a little bit to the new players in the market. And professionalism came through quite strongly in that last moment. And with the growth of the industry, we've seen a lot of cowboys come into the market. I see this virtually every day when I see people who purport to be yacht managers, people who purport to be owners' representatives or whatever, and at the end of the day, the first question they ask is, what commission are you going to give me? It's not, what can you do to help my client? It's, what commission are you going to give me? And they're taking commissions from both ends. This is not a new problem. And at the end of the day, they're not experienced enough to look after a boat properly. And that's only found out when there's a problem. And it's very easy to go and say to an owner, I can knock 20% off your management costs, trust me, trust me. But when it all goes wrong, it's a very difficult issue. And I'd just like to ask the panel their view on the new entries into the market, the one-man bands. I've got no problems with one-man bands, don't get me wrong, but those who are not actually capable of doing the job they purport to do.
Growing pains of the industry, Colin. I suppose it's an indication of how successful the industry has become, that it is unfortunately attracting these entities to it. The difficulty comes in, as you suggested, identifying them, which can only really be done through a membership of some professional body or organisation, such as APSA, that has arisen in the region here. So yeah, if we've got a representative body that people can join to show that they are qualified, that they are trustworthy, then that would be the way to go.
Certainly the creation of APSA, one of the reasons for creating APSA was to have a mark of professionalism in the industry. So owners and captains or visiting yachts or resident yachts could turn around and see the APSA logo and know that they're dealing with somebody they can trust. And that's something I think we need to really push going forwards. So just a final comment on that one, and we'll come to the last moment.
No, I don't think so. We can stop that. Always going to be cowboys in the market, and always somebody going to try to get in the market. They can do, like a management or whatever. But the important is, as you mentioned, if they are become a member professional associations, then we can cut them off. And also, if they have, owners have to ask also insurance too, because in all the professional management companies, survey companies, brokerage companies, they have a third-party liability insurance. But those guys, they don't have insurance. And if owners a little bit, if they get a little bit digging, if they ask them to the insurance, then I think so all these problems will be solved.
Yeah, and that's the question I get asked by yacht captains. Is if you're demanding I put my yacht into a yard that's got insurance, where do you expect me to put my yacht? And in Asia, it's a very serious problem. I mean, I can only name 3 yards that have proper ship repairers liability insurance in Asia. And most insurance policies nowadays on super yachts will require a minimum of 5 million euros ship repairers liability insurance. And most yards I know push that responsibility back to the owner of the boat. And it's not his responsibility, it's the yard's responsibility. They claim they can't buy insurance, and that's simply not true. And it's all about, we don't want to spend money on our professional approach to doing things. I don't know many people in the region who advise owners on things, who carry professional indemnity insurance. We recently did something with APSA and the Hong Kong Boating Industry Association out to all of their members to canvass them about buying professional indemnity insurance, and one member came back and said, yes, we're interested in looking at this. If you're a member of MEBA, you have to have professional indemnity insurance, otherwise you won't be a member. And it comes down to professionalism in the region. If we want to attract yachts to the region, we want to grow our industry, we've got to be more professional with what we're doing and stand up to the fact that we've got to get the quality of what we're doing for the owners up. And at the same time, owners have got to respect that that quality costs money. Any final comments?
The industry in Singapore, in Asia for that matter, based on the flag, we have certainly seen from owners from smaller boat now progressing into much larger boats. like you said, they do carry their small boat mentality over to the larger one, and they are not very familiar with, what is the difference from this to that, because certainly there's a lot more requirements to comply, best practices and all. So it is important that we need to do education. So as FLAG, we always find opportunity to try to educate the owners, new owners, or owners graduating from smaller yacht to a bigger one, to try and make them understand the requirement of having to comply additional things because they have now graduated from a smaller vessel to a larger one.
Education and training comes back time again.
Indeed, and it comes back to the provision of good quality training within the region, and that's what we're hoping to provide up in Phuket in Thailand.
And I know I promised to talk about corruption, but I'll let you do that.
For example, and in Europe, when you call a subcontractor on board, you ask the liability insurance. In the United States also. But I think so, and we need the, especially, we deal, in my company, we deals only in Singapore and Phuket. I think so in the industry and captains and marinas, and they have to push the contractors, they buy the liability insurance. Because if anything happens on board, and we are the responsible, again, education, comes back to the education. And for the shipyard's view, and we are always asking liability insurance from the shipyard because our insurance policies, they are not allow us take the boat and dry dock without their approval. We have to get the approval from them. And when shipyards send us their insurance policy, we have to send our insurance company, and they have to approve us, and then we can take the boat and dry dock. And many people, maybe they are not doing that in the Asia because they don't know. And maybe some people, they have no idea about the liability insurance. And if they know, maybe they will ask. But again, in education, maybe captains don't know that. Because captains guiding the owners, because they don't have manager, they have a home, and they have the secretary, or they have a family offices. They have no idea, and they have to guide the owners. Again, it comes back to education.
It does, and from the insurance perspective, it's very, very difficult for companies of 1, 2, 3 employees actually to get liability insurance. It is possible, but it's expensive. And it's not actually expensive for shipyards. They can very easily put that cost back to the owner. But for small operations, it is expensive. It is possible to get. And Europe, you won't be allowed into a yard if you're a subcontractor. You won't be allowed into a yard until you can prove to the yard that you've got insurance. So there's no reason we shouldn't be educating people here to put these standards into place. Again, it comes down to education, a learning process, and I think owners being prepared to pay the money for the better quality people. The better quality people will have insurance, but of course those better quality people are going to be more expensive. But people need to understand why they're more expensive and understand the value from that. That's kind of wrapping up what we had to talk about up here today. I think we might have overrun a little bit, but Susie. Questions? None. Excellent. Oh. Scott. Four. Excellent. Four. I think an issue with that is most captains don't read their insurance policies, neither do most owners, and they don't know they've got to tell underwriters. If it's a super yacht, if it's a small boat, it's different. But if it's a yacht over 80, 100 feet, they have to tell their insurers they're going into a yard. Yeah. And therefore they need to show the insurance. But they don't read their policies, so they won't see they've got to do that.
Yeah, I have the insurance so that I can sleep at night and don't have to worry about lifting a boat. And
that's good. Do you have a waiver in your contract?
Yeah, we do have a contract. But, yeah.
So no insurance company will allow a captain to sign a contract that's got a waiver in it unless they specifically agree first.
Just another thing, the problem with staffing. I think we've all got problems with staffing in just about every industry there is. We have a number of deckhands and captains that we hire out to boat owners. So what I do is I get a guy that's never been in the boat industry, put him on as a deckhand. We put our staff through STCW, and we do annually a marine license seminar. So every year we do a seminar, we invite the Marine Department of Thailand, and we invite all the boat boys, even the privately contracted ones, to join this marine seminar. At the end of it, they can get their license, but more importantly, I'm trying to teach everybody who's driving a boat in the marina what the rules are. It just helps by, yes, it's not our job to educate the privately owned boat boys, but we all have a nicer life when there are less incidents within the marina. So for anyone that's having trouble getting staff, maybe it's time we looked at ourselves and trained our staff ourselves. And the best staff that I've got are the ones that have never worked in the marine industry before.
I think that's very valuable, and I think it kind of hits on a point that the more experienced people in the industry, such as yourselves, I think should actually be looking to help the more inexperienced people in the industry stand up and get to those standards. And I think the industry as a whole has a duty to make sure we go forwards in a much better way than we were, say, 10, 20 years ago.
Sorry, Colin, just to sort of follow on. For the last 2 or 3 decades, there's been this debate about legalese attached to every form of document there is. Insurance documents are right up there amongst the most illegible things you'll ever read. It's like trying to get through Odyssey. You know, it's just not going to happen. So the expectation that the captain's going to understand what he's looking at is fair, but I think the onus should be put on the insurance business to make these documents legible to the man in the street. I send everything to my lawyer.
I agree with you. I think you'll find the better quality insurers have more sort of plain English, as they say, policies than the poorer quality insurers, I think. I think to start with, you'll find the better quality insurers have their policies in font size 12, whereas the others are font size 5, which doesn't help to start with. And those insurance policies that cure insomnia are ones you should run a mile from.
I agree entirely.
I've got one policy that's 98 pages long and another policy that's 4 pages long.
And that's just your travel insurance. No rotten fruit. This is good. Okay, thank you very much indeed. And we'll hand the mic back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, Hilda, Nazmi, and Clive. Thank you very much.